What's up guys, it's your Kurasagi here, back with another video, and I want to talk to you guys about something different. I'm going to talk about the state of raiding in Final Fantasy XIV. I feel like I have an interesting position as a mid-core player. I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV since the beta of A Realm Reborn on the PlayStation 3, and I've played off and on since then. I was a paladin until Dawntrail release. I casually raided in all the raid tiers, but never cleared a whole tier until Dawntrail, where I took raiding a bit more seriously because Viper. I didn't really have a class that spoke to me until Viper. So I want to talk about the state of raiding in this game. I'm only going to talk about raiding. I'm not going to go Lucy Pyre or Zeplo on you all. Mr. Happy just made a video going over all the things that he thinks need to be changed about the game. There are a lot of problems with this game, but I just want to talk about my raiding experience as a mid-core player that is currently playing the game. Also, there's a lot of topics that may blend into each other. I want to try to go over everything, so please watch everything before commenting. And by the end, if you think that I missed something or didn't represent something correctly, please put it in the comments. I'm doing this video to start a conversation, and I really want to know if others that play Final Fantasy XIV feel that this is an issue that they have, or if it's just a skill issue on my part. So yeah, I forgot to say, I have done every fight just in Party Finder. So there are no statics. I've never been in a static. I've just done everything in the Party Finder. So let's start with my raiding experience with each fight so far as a mid-core player, starting with M1S. So M1S was my introduction in trying to actually try to raid hardcore Black Cat on Viper. My first issue coming into raiding was the terminology and understanding what the terminology was and the whole Party Finder strats. When you get into the Party Finder, the first thing you'll see is these weird acronyms that people use, and if you've never raided before, it can be very confusing. Like for M1S, it was TN, same bait, DPS first, SUP, CCW, THD, MTTT. And it's like, if you don't raid in this game, me just saying that, you would think I was a crazy person. But once you understand TN is True North, same bait, is for like roles they bait the cleaves in the same position. DPS first means DPS baits first. CUPP is for supports, and then CCW means counterclockwise. THD standing for tank healer DPS, pretty much going over the role priority for a mechanic. MTTT was for raiding cats, and it was probably the hardest mechanic of M1S, but the fight itself was not that bad and was able to get it down fairly easy. M2S, Honey Be Lovely. This fight was a bit of a doozy, not to mention the music. After constant wipes and wipes and wipes, it was just torture after a while. Tanks ended up being the main issue, and there was a strat that people called Mario Kart during a specific phase where the bees would come down and they would shoot AoEs at people at random, and everybody would go north and just kind of try to kite the AoEs and bait them around. It always ended up being a clusterfuck and people end up dying. After that, like defams was like the next blocking point. Once you got it, it was pretty much no problem. And then Rotten was Enrage, wasn't an issue. Pretty good fight though. I enjoyed it very much. M3S Brute Bomber. This fight, I feel like is very self-explanatory. Very, you need to stand here, you need to stand there. I feel like knowing your positions, depending on if you were, well, in my case, because I was melee, if I was M1 versus M2, I would have to be in different positions. It was just a lot of muscle memory. Just had to go in there, wipe, understand the mechanics, get it the next time. This fight didn't take me that long. M4S. This fight, Wicked Thunder, I love the atmosphere. I love everything. The second phase transition was amazing. I think it's probably the best transition of Dawntrail so far. I like this transition even more than M8 transition. The song, it was just great. The issue with Party Finder was a mechanic called, what was it? Uptime, Sunrise. That's where you had to get the towers, and people just could not bait it correctly, and you would just wipe. And I mean, before that, there was Witch Hunt. People couldn't get Witch Hunt correctly, and you were just dying. But once you understood Witch Hunt and you understood how to bait and did the Sunrise mechanic correctly, it was pretty much no-brainer. I want to go over, I guess, how much time I spent in these fights as well. So let's pull that up real quick. Okay, as you can see here, it didn't take me that long. I've only spent about 2 hours in Black Cat, 35 pulls in total. It was not really an issue. Pretty much no problem. Able to do the cures fairly easy. Next, Honeybee Lovely. As you see, I spent a bit more time in this one. 4.9 hours, a total of 53 pulls. Now, of course, this is also including, you know, clears and re-clears. A lot of re-clears because you had to clear the fights over to get to your actual progression point. Then we have Brute Bomber. This one I spent more time in just because Party Finder just had issues. 8.2 hours, 108 pulls. Pretty rough, but I mean, hey, third fight. What can you say? It's gonna be a little difficult. Wicked Thunder. Now, Wicked Thunder, way more time. 13.9 hours at 173 pulls. This took a minute. A lot of points of getting close to the end, or as you can see, like these points are probably just wiping at Witch Hunt because people just messing up like the first set of mechanics or dying before the transition phase. Just silly stuff. But yeah, that's my time in the first tier. Now let's go over the second tier. Second tier, starting off with Dancing Green. This fight was pretty cool. The aesthetics and everything are pretty amazing. The first set of mechanics was not a returning, but a reoccurring mechanic that you would see throughout the entire fight of A side, B side. As M2, you pretty much stood in the same spot every time. It was brain dead. But if I ended up doing M1, I would have to be on the, if it was B side, I would have to be in the north, which would make it difficult to hit positionals, and it was a bit rough. But once you understood that, it was no big. The first big mechanic, Disco Inferno 1, understanding where to stand, where to catch the light, which spot was yours, was the biggest headache, I think, of this entire fight. But once you understood that, it was pretty much easy. I think Hector made a follow-up video where you would look south of the boss, depending on what your position was. Whichever spot was safe, that square quadrant was your quadrant that you would bait the mechanic at. If you know, you know. I'm not gonna get into it. After that, you have Arcadia Night Fever. The hardest part of this fight was the debuff timers and making sure not to overlap with other people. That was pretty much it. Next mechanic, Frog Triage 1. A lot of times you could just follow other people that know what they're doing and get it right just fine. There wasn't too many other mechanics that I can remember in this fight that were just difficult. It's just a lot of remembering, okay, in, okay, out, okay, Frog Triage, who's baiting this first. It was pretty self-exclamatory. Next fight, M6S, Sugar Riot. This was easily the Ball Buster, the Static Breaker, the party finder destroyer of the full tier. People could not get through ad phase. The first set of mechanics, not that difficult. Also, this is where I figured out that a lot of people weren't using their mint properly. I feel like mint is a very important thing, especially now in Dawntrail, that everybody has and everybody should be utilizing. And the amount of people I don't see use feint, or don't use at all, or don't use reprisal is just crazy. Cactus dodge, like, just keep it north. I don't know why anybody does anything else. just keep it north. I think after that, it's just ad phase. Like, understanding how to cleave max and AoE properly. Shots fired at any dancer that was in my party and saw me on Viper and did not give me dance partner. I'm sorry. I'm salty about it. It makes no sense because Viper's AoE in this fight is so good. Like, if you see a Viper and they are even remotely decent, you should give them dance partner just to DPS down the ad phase. Like, being able to awaken and reawaken and AoE properly, long as the tanks actually group up the mobs correctly and make sure that the Yans aren't close to the squirrels that would cause them to enrage and do crazy damage. That's literally the only thing they have to worry about. It would make the ad phase so much easier. Oh man, but yeah, people just could not get this phase down. There are people stuck on this mechanic today, still have not gotten past ad phase. And because people have so much trouble at ad phase, it makes getting to the later phases of the fight and actually seeing those mechanics and actually practicing those mechanics even more difficult, because people don't get past ad phase. So once you get past it, people mess up because they panic, because they're like, oh no, I haven't seen this phase, you know, and they panic and then they die. Because, you know, they just got so excited because they passed ad phase. It's a mess. Outside of that, like later on, the towers, I just have the tank save LB because there's always somebody missing a tower or somebody dies. It's just best to just save tank LB there so that we actually survive that mechanic. And that's pretty much the fight. I don't know what to say about people not AoEing properly, not knowing how to cleave max during the ad phase. It's rough. It's rough. Next fight. Next we have M7S. This is the Brute Abominator or Brute Annihilator. Well, it's not the Abominators. What? Abomination? Brute Abomination? I can't remember his name. This fight, in my opinion, is the easiest fight this tier. I have no issue with this fight whatsoever. Again, I just followed Hector Strat, and you know, you set up markers for phase 2, phase 3. I've had people try to put markers on phase 1, and I'm like, why? Why do you need markers to just bait your thing? There's like, literally, there's like a little circle on the field for you to put your bait on. You don't need markers. You save the markers for phase 2, phase 3. I don't really know what else to say about this fight. I think it's pretty easy. Of course, like in I think phase 3, if you have like a support, like one of the healers or one of the fizz range die, and you as a melee or a tank have to stay near the wall because you have the tether, it's pretty fucked. Like, I've had points where like somebody would die right at my 2-minute and I'm stuck on the wall and I just missed my 2-minute and I'm just like, we're just gonna enrage. Like, y'all might as well wipe at this point because I was not able to get my 2-minute burst down. Other than that, the fight's pretty easy. This fight was a no-brainer for me. I think of all the music as well, it was probably the one I liked the least. Last fight, M8S, Howling Blade. This fight I think was super cool. I think his design is pretty cool. I didn't like his second phase design. I think it was pretty ugly. I mean, I understand why, but it's just, it was not cool looking. Sorry. Once you do this fight, you will realize that it is majority of the time a Millennium Decay run. Majority of the time it is a Millennium Decay run, and I don't know why. Millennium K is not that difficult. Ad phase is definitely not that difficult. But it's just like, you know, you're in a party finder, there's 8 other people, somebody makes a small little mistake here or there, and that's just kind of like the game we play, because it's just like, hey, if, you know, you could do everything correctly 95% of the time, and then that 5%, you know, you mess up, and you got the same, let's say everybody else does the same thing 95% of the time, they're fine, but then that 5%, they're not fine. So it's like, it's just, you're just taking that gamble every time, because there's 8 people, 7 other people. So a lot of times just getting to phase 2 is like an achievement with Party Finder. Like, I remember progging this fight, and every time people see phase 2, they're like, yo, poggers, phase 2, this is a real party, guys. We can actually do it. We got this. And then immediately die in phase 2 because they're panicking, not baiting the UV correctly. It's just, you know, it is what it is, Party Finder. This fight, I spent so much time. I think of all the raids I did, I spent the most amount of time trying to prog this fight, to the point where I had to get my friend's static group to just take me in there. And when I say they took me in there, we literally one-shot it. It was just like, all right, get me in there, one shot. It was not an issue. I did die once at the end to what was it, Heroes something? I don't remember the name of it, but I think that's because like the third-party site that I was using did not have Heroes, whatever it's called, in the spread. I used the WTF DIG, like what the fuck, where do I go? And it has like diagrams of like all the mechanics, but Heroes is not in there. And the hero mechanic, he turns off the teleporters, and there's like a debuff on the teleporters or something, and you can't use the teleporters as quickly as normally. So you have to make sure that you look at which side he's cleaving and whether it's in or out, and then use that one teleport to dodge the attack. So it's like, upon finally seeing that mechanic, I was not prepared for it, and I died. But they were able to get me up, and we was able to play the fight anyway, so it was not an issue. Life of a party finder. Let's go over the actual amount of time that I spent in each fight. Starting with Dancing Green. As you can see, only about 5 hours, which is a decent amount of time. 79 pulls, not even 100 pulls. Dancing Green was not that much of an issue. Next, Sugar Riot. This is going to be much worse. At 12 hours and 12.4 hours, 169 nice pulls. This fight, just the ad phase and getting past the ad phase was always just rough. Moving on, Brute Abominator, that was his name. 12 hours, 159 pulls. I think I literally had more pulls in Sugar Riot than I had in this fight, but you know, like I said, I personally thought it was the easiest fight, but still, you still have 7 other people you have to deal with. So next, Howling Blade at a crazy 23.5 hours, 479 freaking pulls. Like, I don't know what to say. The amount of time I spent in this fight is just enough to break a man. It's crazy. I don't think there's an encounter in this entire game that I have done 479 times. Like, including roulettes, including main scenario, I don't think there's a single encounter I have done in this game 479 times. Like, stop. It was ridiculous. Luckily, my friend was helping me to get that clear, so I was able to just join re-clear parties and been able to re-clear. Although that has not helped me get BIS because my rolls are trash and weapon won't drop, and I never get the coffer. It is what it is. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. Casual versus hardcore raiders. I will say, casuals don't know what hardcore raiders look like and think that the devs update the game for hardcore raiders. I also say hardcore raiders don't know what casual players look like and think the devs update the game for casuals. I will say there are some points that casual players do mess things up because they think they understand high-end raiding, like the whole thing with Xenos doing the first Dawntrail dungeon at the media tour with no healer on warrior, starting the whole healer strike nonsense. Hopefully they listen and make changes to not just healers but all classes, but that's a whole nother subject I'm not going to get into. In the end, Square Enix will make changes they feel keep more players subbed to the game. Sadly, that means they will cater to casuals because they already have the Raiders' money. Yeah, y'all are still stuck trying to do re-clears 7 more times to get the weapon for one job. So yeah, sorry. So of course they're going to cater to casuals more. They would never change unless they find some way to make more money from the hardcore raiders, and I'm sure that's not what you guys want, so maybe just keep quiet on that one. I'm a mid-core raider sitting here just enjoying a little bit from both casual and hardcore raiders. I'm just over here like, okay, stream trial, oh savage, oh god, like, I don't want that ultimate, no, too much. Oh, chaotic rage, don't mind if I do. 24 man, sure. Relic grind, I like a nice glamour relic. Oh, what is that? Cosmetic, cosmic exploration, get that out of here. Oh, but that mount though. The other issue I have is data center trap. If you are not on a raid data center or transfer there before 3 p.m., you will not be raiding. You will not be raiding today. You can't do anything when you're on another data center on top of that. Like no retainers, which lock you out of anything your retainers are holding. You can't gather unspoiled nodes. I don't know why. You can't go to the firmament. You can't do hunt trains because the server is too full to transfer from server to server and follow the hunt train. You can't do anything. You have to queue in the party finder because you're sitting in party finder. Well, I mean, I am as a party finder. I don't do, statics. So yeah, no Wondrous Tales. Can't do roulettes to help yourself cap. Can't do Cosmic Exploration. Can't do Occult Crescent, etc. You can't even go to your island sanctuary. This is something I think they're hopefully working on with the whole cross data center party finder thing. We need that like now. Like, it's crazy we don't have it. So I'm hopeful this will be fixed soon. This next one doesn't really affect me much, but patch release schedule. This one affects more statics than party finder players. It makes it harder for them to find statics to join in time that works with such short notice when Square Enix tells you like a month before, like, okay, the raids patch is going to be on this day and you got a month to try to find a static. It's not enough time. It makes it harder to plan days off for Savage and Ultimate. It makes it harder to plan, around your job and like not your actual job, but your class, your job that you play in the game for the tier and to gear up that class. Because let's say you join a static that needs a healer and you're like, okay, well now I need to gear up my healer. But I don't have that much time to go into the party finder and get gear. So you're not geared up to actually do the content. It makes it much harder to plan a full static around 8 grown adults. I mean, that's like self-explanatory. I don't think this will ever change. I don't know why they can't just give us more of a heads up, but it is what it is, I guess. This next one I'm going to talk about is going to be a bit of a doozy. It's statics versus party finder. For this one, I'm going to do a pros and cons list. Let's start with statics. Static pros. you can raid at scheduled times. I mean, obviously, you know, you have 7 people, y'all have a set time that y'all decide to raid, so you raid at scheduled times. The best statics are far better than the best party finders. It's just facts. Like, statics seem to be just better players than party finder. Statics can gear faster than someone in party finder because they roll with the same player every week. It's like, yeah, they can just focus on the gear that the party needs instead of rolling against randoms every time. Statics give gear priority to DPS, making DPS checks much easier for Prog and reclears, because what most statics will do is they will make sure that their DPS gets all the gear that they need so that they meet DPS checks first. So yes, it makes it easier for them to Prog and reclear. Statics are more likely to help each other out when there are problems with other party members. So because you're in a static, in the let's say the idea of a static is to come together and to stick together as a static, you typically want to help your static members out and not just be like, oh, screw you guys, I'm going to find a different static, you know. So those are the pros that I find. Static cons. Someone could be missing. So if somebody's missing, it's going to make it difficult. Like, somebody's sick, they got to call out, whatever. Somebody missing from the static always makes it a problem. Worst static is far worse than the worst party. I will just say this: if you get somebody who's bad in your static and you are just stuck with them, it's going to make things difficult. 1 or 2 people could hold back the whole static. It's just a fact that if you just have 1 or 2 stragglers and they're just over there just like, I just can't get this mechanic, or they're blaming their internet, or their mom just keeps coming in and distracting them. Whatever the excuse might be, just 1 or 2 people could just hold back the entire static. Someone doesn't show usually means that you don't raid them, because if you do raid, it's going to cause issues with the static, because okay, now the party distribution is like, the gear distribution is different. You want to avoid pugging because the pugs could get the loot, obviously. And let's say you pug, like one of your DPS is missing, and you pug a DPS, and then the DPS that you pug end up getting the loot. Well, now that's less loot within the circle of your static because you gave it to the pug. So yeah, you don't really want to pug. Sadly, also usually don't do normal party finder strats, and it makes it harder to find pugs. Because statics will do whatever works best for the group, which is not typically what the party finder does, so it could make it harder to try to pug. The time your static raids could also make it harder to pug, like if you raid at a specific time, or if you raid on a different server that's not the raid server, it can make it harder to find pugs. Also, static drama. This is just a social thing that just gonna happen in games like this, where there might be some drama, some beef, somebody's sleeping with the raid leader's girl, just stupid shit. If you've been on a static, that's kind of why I want to avoid it. Also, getting loot hoed. Getting loot hoed is something like, if the leader, you've been raiding, you've gotten your reclears done, the leader got everything they wanted, and then they disband the static, and you didn't get all the stuff that you wanted. This is something that happens where the raid leader doesn't really communicate, or on purpose doesn't communicate, so they can get what all they need, and then they disband the static, leaving you to kind of just deal with whatever's to come. It's really messed up, to be honest. Moving on, Party Finder. Let's talk about the Party Finder pros. Party Finder is more flexible. Party Finder is just more flexible than a static. That's just how it is. Community has made many tools for different Party Finder strats. So there are many like third-party tools and websites that you can use that will help you with whatever the strat may be. Like the one site that I was talking about, like where WTF, where do I go? That's a pretty good tool to use. You can raid whenever time you want. This is the main reason that I stick with party finders, because my schedule is kind of crazy. I start work at like 3 in the morning. Like it's difficult to try to find a static that can work with my time. So I just use party finder. If you're clearing fast enough, you could gear faster than some statics if you're lucky. It is possible. It's not always possible, especially not when you're me, because I have the worst luck, and I'm sure a lot of you probably understand. Probably don't have good luck either, but it is possible. You get to roll on any and all loot that drops. So no matter what drops, you can roll on it because it's a party finder. So yay, more loot if you're lucky. Next, let's talk about the party finder cons. Reclear party finder is less flexible because they usually stick with whatever strat they are clearing with. This only an issue because there's so many strats out there. People can't just stick with one, so it could make it a problem. Party finder has multiple strats and can't just stick with one. And I don't know why. People just feel like, oh yeah, I can make it better, and that way I can get my name out there. Like, shut up. Just stick with the one strat. Plugging with randoms every time, like this is like, it could be anything, you know. Like when you're dealing with randoms, anything can happen. Prog Liars. This is less of an issue nowadays because we have the tombstone that can show not only how far you've gotten in a fight, but the last mechanic that you saw. I didn't say this before, but in M6S, the ad phase was so bad, people just could not cleave max and AoE properly, that people were ignoring the ads and just DPSing down the boss so that they could say that they were past ad phase because they just focused on DPSing the boss. It's just so they could join non-ad phase party finders. It's literally that bad. Yes, it's literally that bad. Clearing slow will make it take longer for you to get BIS before a static. It's just like, yeah, if it takes you longer to clear the fight, it's gonna be longer for you to get BIS. There would be less good players because they will have already gotten clears and be done with the fight. So it's just one of those things. The other pugs in Party Finder can roll on any and all loot, which can make gearing much harder for you if you're unlucky. Yeah, as this was a pro, this is also a con, of course, because you could just be unlucky. And no matter how much loot you need, if you only need one piece of loot, it won't stop the other people from rolling. Even if I've seen people roll on loot for classes they don't even have level. It's just, I don't know why the game even allows them to do that, but it is what it is. The worst player always gets the drop. Joke? This is a joke, but it does feel like that. Not getting gear will make DPS check harder. That's just a fact. Like, if you're unlucky, like I am, it makes it harder for me to re-clear, harder for me to pug, harder for me to meet DPS checks, and harder for me to compete with other DPS because I just didn't get the loot. I just can't do more damage because I just don't have the gear. It just kind of is what it is. Party Finder will disband before helping each other with any problem because they could just be wasting their time with somebody who never learns. This is just Party Finder. A lot of times will do like 3 runs. If they don't meet the prod point in 3 runs, they will just disband. That's just what it is. Not really much you can do about that. It just kind of sucks when you're DPS and you have to wait in Party Finder for an hour to find another party. Not getting re-clears done on Tuesday will make it harder to clear every day that you miss, because people will get their re-clears done the day of reset, and if you don't get it done that day, you will have less pool of players, which will make it harder for your party to even feel, much get people that are consistent enough to actually clear the fight, because just because they cleared the fight does not mean they were not dragged through the finish line. You will run into that a lot. You have to raid on the raid server. This is just an issue with the whole data center thing. If you're not raiding on the raid data center, it's gonna make finding a group near impossible. I've looked at party finders in Primal because that's my primary data center that I'm on, and it's literally like 0, 1, 3. Like that's how many party finders are up for each fight. It's awful. It wasn't that bad in the first tier because I don't think data center travel was a thing. They blocked it, so people had to raid on their data center. So it made it a bit better. Kinda. Kinda. Yeah, if you don't raid at specific times, it could make it harder to find party finder players. You're pretty much at the mercy of peak raid times. It just is what it is. Like, if you're trying to raid at 3 in the morning, you're probably not going to find people in the party finder because nobody's up. That's not peak raid time for normal NA players. I mean, in making this list, I found that there are far more cons than pros for both statics and party finder. Maybe this is a play on how we are as humans and always remember the negatives more than the positives. I don't know. I thought it was interesting though. Party finder strats. The community has made plenty of party finder strat tools to help with the party finder. This kind of helps, but it doesn't help that the community has to do this at all. NA can't stick with one strat. I don't know why. People are trying to make a name for themselves or something. Just stick with the one strat, please. JP pretty much party finders to learn the fight and then duty fighters to clear the fight. So because this is how JP does it, I don't think this will really be fixed. It just feels like this is an NA problem, you know, and we're just kind of just have to deal with it. Community makes videos going over party finder strats. This has been an issue with me with this game for so long. The whole you have to watch a video mentality. I want to be able to experience the fight the first time myself. I want to see the mechanics the first time myself, not in a video that somebody else is doing and then I have to mimic what that person did. I want to experience my fights. So a lot of times when I am doing a raid tier, will go in blind learning party. I will make a blind learning party, and I will say people don't really like to join those. I will also say, because I've had some people that will blame people like Mr. Happy for making the video, and it's not his fault. It's not Mr. Happy's problem. It's the community. The community has chosen to take this content that Mr. Happy has made and been like, okay, you have to watch the Mr. Happy video, or you have to watch the Hector video on this fight. If Mr. Happy didn't do it, somebody else would. If Hector didn't do it, somebody else would. No matter what, people are going to go to the path of less resistance. If it's easier for people to just watch a video and learn how to do the fight and then do it and then tell people you have to do it that way because it's less stressful or more easy to do, that's what people are going to do. People are too scared to go in and wipe and learn a fight. I literally cleared M7S and could not get into an M8S party because nobody wanted to join my party finder. Nobody wanted to join a blind learning party finder for M8S because they knew about the Millennium Decay prog and they were just scared. They were scared to go in and learn and wipe. And I did not end up actually going into M8 until 2 weeks later after I had already cleared M7S. It's just sad. Just sad, really. Prog Liars. Party finder tools have helped it, so not everyone knows, but not everyone knows how to actually use the party finder tools or that they even exist. So there are still some prog liars that get by. Also, they can opt out of it, which is fair, but why would you? I don't trust any players that hide their logs. Again, I'm a mid-core player. And even as a mid-core raider, I like seeing how good or bad I am doing, or how good or bad my teammates are doing. It makes it easier to see the problems and make adjustments and improve. I'm one of those players that feel like this should just be default in the game. There should be something to track our DPS built in the game. Also, being able to see how far someone is in the fight should also be default in the game. I don't know if any of you know, there's this stupid little setting in the duty finder when you're queuing up a duty where it asks you like if you're on phase 1 or the final phase. Does anybody use that? Is that even a thing that people actually go in there and click that button and say I'm on the first phase? It literally does nothing. I don't know why it exists. It's so stupid. Also, players with alts can make telling if players are lying a bit harder. I mean, there's ways around it, but it's just a lot of a headache. A lot of times if somebody says they're on the alt, I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, I'll trust it. But also, if you're on the alt and you haven't cleared the fight and I'm doing a re-clear party, you're not joining my party. Just straight up. I'm just trying to re-clear so I can move on in my life. I'm not trying to help you get a clear on your alt. Rewards. There's not much to say here. If you have played the game even a little bit, you already know what I'm probably about to say. Gearing up takes way too long. It makes it harder to gear more classes, more jobs because it's all luck-based. Books have helped a lot. I don't know if any of you knew back in the days where books didn't exist, and if you just had bad luck, you were just screwed. It sucked. So books help, but 8 books for a weapon? Like, like come on now. I always roll against randoms because I'm on Party Finder. Even a static, you're not 100% safe because it is better than Party Finder. You know, it's better to have a static than have a Party Finder. But gearing up is rough. I don't even know if there's a way to fix this. Do they think if they keep the Raider sub for 8 weeks for books for 1 weapon, and they will unsub the second they have BIS? Probably so. I would, because I'm an adult that cares about their time, and I would definitely unsub the second I have BIS, because I'm only trying to gear Viper. I really don't care about any other class. How long will I continue to stay subbed in an MMO that doesn't care about my time? That's a loaded question. I don't know. We'll see. Closing statement. Final Fantasy XIV relies too much on the community for everything. Understanding how jobs should be played, teaching it to others. Understanding how the raid should be done, teaching it to others. Depending on what strats to use in raids, and teaching it to others. Understanding what BIS is, and teaching it to others, etc. If they just only teach players how the game works in the game, there would be some expectations for casuals to understand the game a little bit. They give players too much freedom to be bad. The community keeps this game together with mods, third-party tools and sites, guides, and videos. I continue playing because Savage rating lets me be toxic. The high-level gameplay that is required to clear fights reminds me of the days when I used to try to play fighting games and hang out with the FGC. Keyword, try, because I was never good. But even so, I could still watch a tourney and be amazed by how good players can be. The mind games, the footsies, the crazy combo conversions off what a normal person would just look at and see as a random lucky swing. But I may be losing some of y'all there, so I'll drop the FCG talk. But I will say, if the fights in this game ever fell off, I would stop playing. I play for the high-level raids, the main story, and my friends. That's it. That being said, I think I've said enough. If there's anything that you think that I got wrong or missed, please let me know in the comments, because I'm making this video to hopefully start a conversation and make someone at Square Enix, maybe they will hear me and understand what a mid-core player goes through trying to play their game. That being said, thanks for watching, and remember, I don't love you.